Hello and welcome to the first of 3 tutorials on the concept of elasticity.
So what exactly is elasticity? It's simply a measurement of one variable's sensitivity or reaction to a change in another variable.
In this tutorial, we're going to consider 2 different measurements of elasticity.
The elasticity of demand and the elasticity of supply. The elasticity of demand measures the effect of price changes on the quantity demanded of a good. It answers the question, how sensitive are buyers to changes in price? The elasticity of supply measures the effect of price changes on the quantity supplied of a good. It answers the question, how sensitive are firms to changes in price?
Let's consider more closely the concept of the elasticity of demand. Consider the following market demand curve. Notice how it's relatively flat. Let's look at what happens to quantity for a given price change. So suppose our initial price is P0. At P0, the quantity demanded is Q0. Now let's consider a small increase in the price to P1. At P1, quantity demanded falls from Q0 to Q1. So here we have a small change in price from P0 to P1, and that led to a large change in quantity demanded. It fell from Q0 to Q1. Since small changes in price led to large changes in quantity demanded, we call this demand curve elastic. Let's take a look at some examples of elastic goods. Durable goods such as dishwashers, laundry machines, and automobiles, and as well many luxury goods, are commonly considered elastic goods. The reason being is that they are purchased infrequently and the decision to purchase them can be deferred. In a nutshell, these are goods that we can easily do without. For example, if manufacturers of such goods increase their price too much, sales can fall dramatically as buyers will simply wait for a better price. Meat products, such as chicken, beef, and pork, are also commonly thought of as elastic, and this is mainly because there are many alternatives available. For example, if the price of chicken doubles, many buyers can substitute for beef or pork, or even other protein options such as tofu. In a nutshell, goods with elastic demand, that is, goods with demand curves that are relatively flat, are goods that are easy to do without and can be easily substituted. Now consider the following market demand curve. Notice it is relatively steep. Let's now see how much quantity demanded changes for the same price change we considered before. So here we have that price increases from P0 to P1, and we see that quantity demanded only changed slightly from Q0 to Q1. Since quantity demanded changes only slightly for changes in price, we say that this is an inelastic demand curve. So let's take a look at some examples of goods with inelastic demand. Medicine, gasoline, electricity, cigarettes, these are all goods where buyers are not sensitive to price changes. For example, insulin is a necessity for diabetics, and so changes in its price will not cause large changes in the quantity demanded. Inelastic goods are goods that are difficult to do without and are difficult to substitute. In a nutshell, goods with inelastic demand, that is, goods that have very steep demand curves, are goods that are difficult to do without and difficult to substitute. Let's now turn to the elasticity of supply. Remember, we are now talking about the behavior of firms, not consumers. So we are talking about firm sensitivity to changes in the market price. Consider the following market supply curve. Similar to demand curves that are flat, flat supply curves are also called elastic. This is because small changes in price lead to very large changes in quantity. Firms with elastic supply can easily adjust their production levels in response to changes in the market price. Alternatively, firms with steep or inelastic supply curves, such as that depicted here, are not able to quickly adjust their production. So here we see that if the market price increases from P0 to P1, then the quantity supplied increases only slightly from Q0 to Q1. In summary, firms with inelastic supply tend to face obstacles that prevent them from increasing production in response to higher market prices. It is important to realize that a firm's production capacity can change over time. Initially, say over a few weeks or months, a firm may face obstacles to increasing its production, such as the size of its plant or the availability of skilled labor. The supply curve associated with the initial time period is called the short-run supply curve and is relatively inelastic. However, over time, the firm can find the required labor, purchase more land, and do what is required to increase its production. Thus, in the long run, the supply curve becomes more elastic. As you can see, the long-run supply curve here is flatter than the short-run supply curve. So here, for an increase in price from P0 to P1, in the long run, the new quantity supplied is QLR. This is much larger than the quantity supplied in the short run, which is represented by QSR. The bottom line is that supply tends to be inelastic in the short run as firms face obstacles increasing production. But over time, these obstacles can be overcome, resulting in a supply curve that is more elastic. In other words, in the long run, firms are better able to adjust their production to meet changes in the market price. That concludes part 1 of our tutorial on elasticity. Don't forget to watch part 2 where we will discuss how to calculate elasticity, and in part 3 where we tie everything together and relate the concept of elasticity to real-world economic phenomenon.